What's going on, everyone? So today I am bringing you a mono red deck profile. So before we jump into this, just a few things that I wanted to say about this. It is an extremely aggressive deck, so it is able to really beat your opponent in fast. However, I do think that to improve on the deck, it should be 2 red banners and 1 banner of a different color. And I think that should just suit whatever your need is. For me, I've been having a lot of trouble with ambushes, and I think green is going to be the best fit for me. But if you're having trouble keeping a hand size, maybe yellow will be what you should go for. But yeah, just keep that in mind while watching this video, and if you were planning on building mono red, I do think 2 red, 1 of another color is the best possible combination. So, also along with that, there is not too many, there's enough good red cards that the deck does function, but once we get this next set, Oath of Blood, we should be able to have a lot more, and then maybe mono red will have a better chance. So, yeah, anyways, let's jump right in this profile. So, kicking things off, we got 4 copies of Toast Abra Goblin. This is a really good card and really punishes your opponent if they get unlucky with a low roll. Yeah, he really, the one thing I don't like about him is if he's my only 1 cost on turn 1 and I'm going first. Then I feel like I'm just wasting him if I summon him and not doing that 1 damage to my opponent's dice. But going second, if your opponent has a low roll and you have multiple copies in your hand, you could potentially break a 2 or a 3, or if you got all of them, you could break a 4 and just rush into that fort. So he really helps you with your plays, and I think he's really important to the deck. So next up, we have 4 copies of Sarg, Renowned Bladesmith. This is a really decent card. Being able to do 1 damage when it dies, it pairs well with Carefree Orc, especially if your opponent has a lot of lower cost creatures. And it also deals 1 damage to all of the opponent's Drago shields when it dies, so lowering those high dice rolls into a range where you'd be able to kill it. So he does have the Siphon 1 when he is summoned, but I haven't found that to be a hindrance yet. It's more of just reducing my 6 to a 5, or my already low number to a lower number, and it hasn't really impacted the game too much. So next up, those were both the ones I was playing 4 of, and then I'm playing 3 Goblin Madcap. I do like this card. It does add a lot of defensive capabilities to the deck, just being able to sit there and your opponent doesn't want to attack it because they don't want to lose that Drago shield. And if the 3 damage is dealt, that brings it down into a range where Sarg could kill it if he's Drago crossed, provided they rolled a 6. So Goblin Madcap is a really great card. And then also I'm playing 3 Highlands Rogue. For both of these, I was playing 2 copies of each, and then I was running 2 torches, but I decided to take the torch out to put an extra copy of each, just so that I could see an extra 1 drop on my turn 1. So, I haven't really missed torch yet, but I haven't seen an improvement on the number of times I draw these. So, however you guys want to take that. But Highlands Rogue is definitely a decent card, especially if you need to spend 2 attacks to break a dice, then she'd be doing that for you. Moving on to 2 drops, we've got Carefree Orc, and you guys all know that this card is amazing, and it's a huge pain to deal with. If you're playing lower cost creatures, and there's a Carefree Orc on the other side, you're probably not going to be able to keep any of your creatures on board. This card is just so painful to deal with, and yeah, the best thing to deal with Carefree Orc is a Carefree Orc. So, being able to destroy that when he attacks is amazing. It also deals with like Logros Swiftblade, which is bad for the deck, and that's probably the only real problem for this deck would be Logros Swiftblade. But Carefree Orc does handle that quite well. And then to deal with higher dice rolls that your opponent gets, we've got 4 Harpie Huntress. This is a really great card. I mean, if on the turn she's summoned, if you Drago Cross her, she is a 5/4. So she'd be breaking down almost anything. And then if you have a Toast Abra in hand too, there's breaking down a 6. So that's really awesome, and she does provide a lot of heavy hitting for this deck. So then, I am playing 2 Blade Dance Rogue. It is just a decent 2-drop with 3 attack. When we get some better support in the future for red, these would probably be one of the first things to come out. However, I do like drawing them, and I don't have any complaints about this card. It is a really decent vanilla. So moving on to the 3-drops. First off, we have Gloss, Will of Steel. She is amazing. She's pretty much a Zarko, but cost 3. When she's summoned, you can split up damage to your opponent's creatures based on the number of red creatures you control. So if she is your 6th creature, you get to do 6 damage, and that's what Zarko does, but for a much higher cost. So this card puts in so much work. What I've found to be the most optimal play is going first, dropping 3 1-drop creatures, and then turn 2, drop another 1-drop creature, and loss. And then there is 5 damage right there, and that pretty much board wipes your opponent, whatever they played, and then they pretty much have to start all over again on the next turn, and that just allows you to really get a lot of advantage over your opponent and push in harder. She does have a Drago Cross ability, but I haven't found myself using that. But yeah, just based on that first effect, she is amazing. So then the other 3-drop that I played is 4 Hidden Blade. This is the only Fort Burst in the deck since I took the torches out, and the reason I'm playing it is because it's a 3-drop with 4 attack. So I do think that is important. However, the 1 endurance is not too great. I mean, Carefree Orc could take it out if it's on the opponent's side. But this is one of those cards where I don't really mind seeing it and don't really care if I never see it. But it is there just for the option. That would probably be another one that I would take out when we get more support. Then I've got 2 Burbo. He boosts up all of your 3 or lower creatures aside from himself by 1 attack. So if you have him out on the field and you summon Harpie and Drago Cross her, she's a 6. Excuse me. She would be a 6/4 on that turn, being able to break any shield. So he is a pretty great card. I don't know if I would bump him up to more, but 2 is definitely a great number for him. Then we've also got 2 Ravan. I don't really care for ambushes in this deck. I would rather just play more creatures, but she is there as a good backup. I mean, Zarko can wipe out your field if your opponent summons it on you, which hasn't happened to me yet. I'm still waiting for the day that happens. But Ravan will allow you to recuperate from that a little bit. She does do 2 damage to everything, and early game, that is going to be a game changer. So that's it for the 3-drops. Moving on to the 4-drops. First up, we got 2 Doomfire Avatar. This is a really great card because you can do 3 damage to a creature or 4 damage to a shield. So it is a very flexible card in terms of whatever you need it to do. During one of my matches, I was facing an Undying Executioner, and that was the only thing protecting that fort, so I decided to destroy that and keep all of my creatures on board rather than going for the dice, and that really worked out in my favor. The Siphon 3 is a pain, though, especially if you get all low rolls. I remember the one time I played him, I had a 2, a 4, and a 2, so thankfully that 4 was there, because I was able to drop that down to a 1, but that's still I would have rather had a higher number. So he's a powerful card, but that Siphon 3 can be a pain. And along with that, you do have to Siphon 3. So if you roll 3 2s, you would not be able to play him. Next up, we got 2 Vylon, and he is an amazing card. Every time you summon a red creature, do 2 damage to a shield. That is huge. I mean, I won one of my games because of him. They had a 6 on the field. I mean, I would have won anyway, but with him, it made it a lot easier. They had a 6 on the field, and this was the turn after I'd summoned Vylon, and I just dropped 3 1-drops and destroyed the shield. And yeah, I mean, he also has a Drago Cross ability where he can do X damage to a shield, and yeah, he really helps with your aggressive plays. And yeah, I think 2 copies is fine. Maybe 3rd if you have it, but yeah, he is amazing and he really helps you. Now moving on to the higher cost creatures. First off, we got 2 Fafnir. He puts in a lot of work, destroying a shield and a creature for only 6, so he usually wins games for me. This card is so amazing. If you're playing red, you definitely should pick up these. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this card. It's just, it's insane. Then I am playing 1 Zarko. I was playing 2, but I wanted to throw in 1 Xeris, Battleforged, just to see how that would work. And Zarko usually comes too late anyways. I think I would bump up Fafnir, just because I would rather see that than either of these 2. So if you have the extra Fafnirs, I would consider running them over Zarko, because you have Gloss, and Gloss is essentially a mini Zarko in her own way. Xeris I haven't drawn yet, so can't really give you any feedback on how viable he is in particular matchups, but being able to rest a creature when he attacks, I do see that as good. I mean, it is, I believe it's my only way to deal with an on-field Teriel, and that is also one of the reasons why I put him in this deck. So, yeah, that's it for all of the creatures. Now, moving on to spells. I'm sorry, I missed, yeah. I thought I missed some cards. But, yeah, for spells, we got 4 Pyroblast. This is the only ambush that I like playing. I was initially trying out 2 explosive counters, but ended up cutting those for the 2-drop vanilla. And yeah, with 3 red dice, you're bound to at least get 1 number that you like for a Pyroblast. So I don't think this is ever a dead card. And yeah, mono red is where Pyroblast really excels. And then we are playing 2 Goblin Avalanche. This is a really great card, being able to do 3 damage to all creatures at a fort. So one of my reasons behind playing this was you could play this on a Teriel and then attack the fort that Teriel is not at. So essentially lets you go back to that fort on your next turn, since there is no Teriel to deal with. I haven't seen this card yet, only playing 2 copies, but it is, I do like having it there in case I do need it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this deck, and what color you think would go best with red. Yeah, this is extremely aggressive, and I have a lot of fun playing with this. Your opponent can't keep anything on the field, and it's just fun to watch their spirit die. So yeah, be sure to check out my Twitter. You'll be able to see when all these videos go up, if you aren't subscribed already. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do that as well. I am uploading a video every day this week, so be sure to check back in tomorrow for the next one. And also be sure to check out Dragoborne and the Facebook page. Links to both are down in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.